Governor Obama, I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming to Las Cruces. Senator. That's right. I don't want to demote you. That's right. We don't want you to demote you. Yeah. But you always have a state you're welcome to here, so. This, for me, being a veteran, this means a lot to me, for you being here. And, we're in a real serious crisis in our country, as you know. People are paying up to over $4 a gallon. They're really having to make sacrifices to put food on the table. Affordable housing for the medium income people is really an issue. Health care, there's a lot of people working without health care. I wonder if you could just address those issues, the economy, how you want to start it, as the President of the United States. Thank you.
Well, obviously, the problems you just listed affect veterans and non-veterans alike. And part of what this president hasn't understood, but I think the American people understand, is that part of our security is our economy, our economic security. If we don't have a strong economy, then not only are people insecure in their individual lives, but over time, the country becomes less secure. Another way of putting it is, there's never been a nation on earth in the history of the world who saw its economy decline and remained the strongest military power. It's never happened. And so if our economy is weakened and we are becoming relatively less powerful economically, we will become less powerful militarily sooner or later. Sooner or later that will happen. And that's not a future that I accept. So we've got to deal with these economic problems on a day-to-day basis. And obviously the personal stories that you hear when you're traveling, Governor Richardson recalls one of the great honors of running for president is you meet so many people from so many different walks of life. And everywhere we would go, all across the country, in Iowa, Hampshire, everywhere you go, people have the same stories. Single moms who can't get health care for themselves and their children. You've got workers who have worked at a plant for 20, 30 years. Suddenly the job gets shipped overseas. Not only do they lose their job, but they lose their health care, their pensions. Oftentimes they lose their self-respect because they can't support their families anymore. They fall into depression. All across the country, you meet young people who can't afford a college education, even though they've got the grades, but it's just become unaffordable. And so there are a series of steps that I think we have to take. Step number one is we've got to solve our healthcare crisis. And I put forward a plan that says if you've already got healthcare, then we're going to make sure that we lower your premiums by up to $2,500 per family per year by working with the employers to set up a catastrophic reinsurance program to make healthcare more affordable. So that's if you've already got healthcare. And as I already discussed, if you're a veteran, we're going to make sure that you are eligible for the healthcare that you deserve, whether it's through the VA or if you're still active duty or retiree TRICARE system. We're going to make sure that you get the health care that you need. If you don't have health care, then we are going to set up a plan similar to the plan I have as a member of Congress that you can buy into. There won't be exclusions for pre-existing conditions. We'll negotiate with the insurers and the drug companies for the cheapest available price, make sure that claims aren't denied. If you can't afford it, we will subsidize you. So there will not be a single person in the United States who cannot get health care. If they go after it, we will make sure that they are provided the health care that they need. So that's on the health care plan. And this is going to be helpful not only in relieving the budgets of individual families, but it's going to be important to make our businesses more competitive, because that's a huge burden right now on businesses relative to, if we're competing against countries, even in Canada. A lot of the auto industry has moved right across the border, and the main reason is because they won't have to carry those healthcare costs for their workers and their retirees. So we've got to solve that problem. Second thing, energy. I meet people who lost their jobs and can't fill up the gas tank to go on job searches because it's too expensive. And obviously, if you're a low-wage worker, an extra $100 a month for gas kills you. It literally may not be food on the table. So what I want to do is provide a middle-class tax cut for working families, up to $1,000 per family per year, just to offset the immediate rise in cost of gas, medical care. Long term, though, the only way we're going to bring down gas prices is if we harness new sources of energy. We've got to reduce demand in order to move forward. Your governor knows something about this. Obviously, as somebody who was Secretary of Energy, he understands the possibilities of reinvesting billions of dollars that are generated from polluters that are causing global warming. I want to put $150 billion over 10 years into solar. There's a lot of sun around here. I think we could use it. Solar, wind, biodiesel. We've got to make our cars more fuel efficient. Plug-in hybrids. There's no reason why in 10 years' time we don't have cars on the road that are getting 100 miles per gallon if we capture the technologies and invest in the technology. And we've got to think about how do we conserve energy, for example, in our buildings. So all that will reduce demand, and that can not only help individual family budgets, but the country as a whole will be more competitive. We're not going to be sending $1 billion a day to other countries, many of them hostile, because of our dependence on foreign oil. So that's step number 2. Step number 3, I already mentioned, our tax code has to change. It rewards the wealthy and the powerful. It doesn't help you. So I want to give you a middle-class tax break if you're a senior citizen. If you're a senior citizen, I don't want you to have to pay income tax at all if you make $50,000 a year or less, because you're already on fixed income. And the way we'll pay for it is to close loopholes, for example, on companies that ship jobs overseas. They shouldn't get a tax break. We should save those tax breaks for companies that invest here in the United States of America. I want us to invest in infrastructure to put people back to work. We could put 2 million people back to work rebuilding our roads, our bridges, laying broadband lines in rural communities. And if you think that we can't afford it, just remember, we are spending $10 billion a month in Iraq. If we can spend that much money in Iraq, we can spend some of that money right here in the United States of America, putting people back to work. And the final point, the biggest determinant of our long-term economic health is going to be knowledge and innovation. And that means not only doubling the amount of money we're putting into research and development and basic science, but also that we are educating our workforce. And that means investing in early childhood education to close the achievement gap, improving K through 12 by paying our teachers more, giving them more support, making college affordable with a $4,000 tuition credit every student every year in exchange for community service. If we do all those things, then our economy will be placed on the right track. But it's going to take some work. It might take 2 terms.